This is cotton, the treasured fiber which has clothed civilization for at least 5,000 years. When and where man first used cotton, no one knows. Along the Indus River in what is now Pakistan, there was in 3000 BC a village known as Mohenjo-Daro. In the ruins of the village was found a fragment of cotton. This garment is recreated in the pattern of that 5,000-year-old relic, perhaps man's first use of cotton clothing. In ancient Egypt, the growing and weaving of cotton were practiced long before the birth of Christ. The people of the Nile were known for their fabrics adorned with hand-painted designs. This simple sheath was one of the earliest garments of Egypt. Because the climate was warm, clothing was looked upon as an ornament rather than a necessity. By the 4th century BC, the Greeks were using cotton in the classic draped dress, which has been a style inspiration to designers ever since. The ancient Romans were quick to borrow this Greek style. Cotton was a favorite fabric and was imported from Arab traders coming out of India. At almost the same time, on the other side of the world, the Paracas Indians of Peru made a national art of textiles. They had mastered almost every weaving technique known today. Many of their brilliantly embroidered cottons still exist, the colors bright as ever. Later, the Chimu Indians continued the glorious cotton weaving traditions of their ancestors. Since ancient times, cotton also has played an important role in the lives of the people of Mexico. Cottons were so precious to these people that they were offered as sacrifices. In the Maya civilization, cotton was even used as money, and the fantastic vestments of Maya priests and priestesses combined cotton with gold, beads, and rare plumes. Cotton was introduced into Spain in 800 AD by Moorish invaders. By the 14th century, Europe's first important cotton industry was established in the city of Granada, which became famous for beautiful cottons like the fabric in this exotic fashion. The 15th century Persian woman favored sheer and brocaded cottons in both pastels and brilliant colors. Marco Polo once wrote back from this country that to please her husband, a Persian woman must wear cotton. In the hot, dry climate of Africa, the Abyssinian prized cotton for its coolness and comfort. In the Far East, poets of the Khmer civilization of Indochina sang odes to their white gold while the people spun and wove it. They perfected dark cottons with colorful embroidery. Before this time, cotton had been regarded as simply a garden flower in this area of the world. It was prized for its colorful blossom, which quickly withered and gave birth to its intriguing fruit, the cotton boll. By the 18th century, cotton was a popular fabric in Japan, with everyone from the well-dressed traveling merchant to young ladies. The fair maidens of old Tokyo favored printed cotton kimonos belted with an obi. The gentleman's full cape, introduced to Japan centuries earlier by Portuguese explorers, can be seen today only on the classical stage. But the lightweight summer dress, known as the yukata, is still popular in modern Japan. Meanwhile, in Europe, a new concept was introduced in Western dress. Clothing became fashion. Silhouettes and styles began to change rapidly and radically, often capriciously. 18th century France became the first fashion capital, and cotton was a popular fabric for the elaborate garden dresses. In England, the Industrial Revolution made possible the manufacture for the first time of less expensive cottons and in greater quantities. This eventually led to cottons becoming the most widely used textile fiber in the world. The fashionable English lady of this time wore hoop skirts, an innovation which did away with layers and layers of petticoats. Across the Atlantic, the young United States echoed the fashions of the continent. Spurred by the invention of the power loom and the cotton gin, it began to build a vast cotton industry. Crisp cottons were in fashion, and a particular favorite then as now for children's clothes. The 19th century found France still the fashion leader of the world. The styles of the late 1820s were inspired by a renewed interest in the ancient Greek and Roman civilizations. As in the costumes of the Greek and Roman women, waists were high and skirts were slim. In 1850, the eyes of fashion throughout the world turned to Austria and its romantic Biedermeier style. Full skirts were the rage and were worn over as many as 30 petticoats at a time. From The Roses of Biedermeier, Vienna, to Rose und Röschen, a popular play of 1871, was only 20 short years. But in this time, full skirts had disappeared from the fashion scene. The bustle and train were now favorites of the Viennese theater-goers in the Machart period. The swept-back, upholstered look was interpreted in many cottons from organdies to velvets. The 20th century dawned on a time of peace and plenty, and fashions reflected the serenity of the era. The silhouette was graceful and feminine, and large picture hats were the vogue. 2 decades later, emancipated woman descends no longer from a horse-drawn carriage, but from her own automobile. World War I was behind us, and in post-war years, the world reacted with reckless abandon. Fashion followed suit. Women hiked their hemlines, bobbed their hair, and tapped their feet to the 2-beat rhythm of the Charleston. The long, full skirts of Christian Dior's new look in 1947 signaled another post-war renaissance of fashion. His designs carved for Dior a permanent niche in the Fashion Hall of Fame and gave cotton fresh prominence in haute couture. Which brings us to today and the latest cotton fashions. Season after season, cotton grows in prominence as designers the world over use more and more of it in their creations. In the smartest of day dresses, a bloused tunic in bold stripes, afternoon ensembles in embroidered piqué, in the most elegant of cocktail and evening wear, rich black velveteen, crisp organdy. And for the ball, airy chiffon, jewel-encrusted, lace in a frame of velvet. In Vienna, as in Paris, New York, Berlin, Rome, and London, in all the fashion palaces of the world, designers fancy cotton, whose versatility, comfort, and beauty make it the world's most popular textile. Science and art are working hand in hand in the perfection of new textures, new finishes, new charms for cotton, the fiber of history, the fiber of the future.